Good morning, Kuhner country. Holy shamoly. That's all I got to say. I don't know if you saw yesterday's congressional testimony. There was a hearing yesterday in which the head of ICE, the head of Customs and Border Protection, and others responsible for immigration and deportations, and it was fiery, honestly, at times, utterly unhinged and deranged. And before I even get into the specifics, what is very obvious now, there's no question, what you saw yesterday in Congress, Democrat after Democrat after Democrat, and all of them now, they're on the same page, every one of them now parroting the same talking point. They are now going to abolish ICE. Should they win the midterms, ICE will be utterly defunded, defanged, and ultimately dismantled. There is no question now that the Democrats want open borders. They are going to reopen the border the moment they can, flood this country with millions and millions more of illegal migrants, and prevent any more deportations. I think there's no doubt about it. Now, the other point, and this I cannot stress enough, and I'm going to play you clip after clip. You're going to hear it for yourself. They have now become, and I'm choosing my words very carefully, the Democratic Party has become so extreme, so radicalized, so unhinged, deranged, demonic, really. I don't know there's no other word. They cannot be allowed to win the midterms in 2026. These are, I'm going to play you the members of Congress, the people on their committees, and their approach to ICE, their approach to law enforcement, their approach to our borders, their approach to our country. Should they come back to power and regain the House and regain the Senate, it's going to wreak havoc and chaos upon the entire country. And I'm not just talking about investigation after investigation after investigation into Trump, impeachment after impeachment after impeachment. I want you to listen now to the kinds of people now that will be running committees and running Congress. And I am telling you, I don't know if our country could get out of this. I'm being very honest with you. These are not, forget moderate Democrats, these aren't sane individuals anymore. If you think I'm exaggerating, here it is. I want you to brace yourselves, okay? This, forget Trump derangement syndrome. What the Democrats now are exhibiting is ICE derangement syndrome. They want open borders and no deportations of any illegal alien. I don't care how many people they've murdered, raped, children have been molested by them, or drugs have been trafficked. It is the end of America as we know it. They want no national sovereignty, no borders, and let the whole world pour in, and we just got to stand there and take it. Don't believe me? Here it is. Here is Congresswoman LaMonica McIver. Now remember, this is the same member of Congress who is facing not one, not two, but 3 counts. She's been charged with assaulting and interfering with federal ICE officers, federal ICE agents at an ICE detention facility. So this is a woman now up on charges for assaulting ICE, and she's a member of Congress. She confronts ICE Director Todd Lyons, as well as the head of the Commissioner for Customs and Border Protection, Rodney Scott. Those were the two that were really in the line of fire yesterday. The head of Customs and Border Protection, and obviously Todd Lyons, the acting director of ICE. Listen to her. Roll cut 11, Mike.
Let me ask you some questions that you may be able to answer. Mr. Lyons, do you consider yourself a religious man?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, yes. Okay, well, how do you think Judgment Day will work for you with so much blood on your hands?
I'm not going to entertain that question.
Oh, okay, of course not. Do you think you're going to hell, Mr. Lyons?
I'm not going to entertain.
Of course not. How many government...
The gentlelady will suspend. The gentlelady will suspend.
Chairman?
A gentlelady will suspend. As I said, the issues we're debating here are important to ones that members feel deeply about.
Thank you.
While vigorous disagreement is part of the legislative process, members are reminded that we must adhere to established standards of decorum and debate. The witnesses are here voluntarily, and I will continue to remind members that while oversight is important, aggressively attacking those witnesses personally is inappropriate and not in keeping with the traditions of our committee.
Listen,
Mr. Chairman, I'm just asking a question.
Listen to me. I got to tell you, this is, by the way, the person that you're hearing is Congressman Andrew Garbarino. Hope I'm pronouncing his last name correctly. Garbarino. He's the chair of the committee. Okay, he's the Republican. Now, I'm telling you, if the Democrats win power in November, he's not going to be the chair. He's not going to be able to impose any minimal standards of decorum. I've never, in the history of the United States, I'm telling you, I've never seen anything like this. I've never seen this. I challenge any historian to tell me anything approaching this. You're now asking the acting director of ICE whether he's going to go to hell? Whether he's about to, when he meets his maker, is he worried about Judgment Day? And that he's going to be judged and go to hell because of the way supposedly ICE agents are treating illegal aliens? Are you freaking kidding me? This woman, I'm sorry, this woman is bomb. By the way, I'm just starting. I'm just giving you the beginning. This is the appetizer. I haven't even got to the main course of what we saw yesterday on Capitol Hill, okay? My question to you is this. Is this woman, I'm asking an honest question now, does the elevator go to the top? This woman is bonkers. She's crazy. You're insane. She should be kicked off of every congressional committee. You're asking the acting director of ICE whether he thinks he's going to go to hell, and is he ready to go to hell for all the quote-unquote blood on his hands? So we can't deport a single illegal alien now. That's literally, that's what they're saying. And if you do, you're going to go to hell. So now you're judging people based on their soul? And this is how you're running a congressional committee? Listen, I'm telling you right now, there's no parliamentary committee in Canada. There's no parliamentary committee in Great Britain. There's no parliamentary committee in Australia or New Zealand. I don't want to keep naming countries, okay? France, Germany, Sweden, Norway, I don't care. Take your pick. Where anybody has ever asked a question, this effing insane, this effing insulting and demeaning and degrading. So now, what is this, the Spanish Inquisition? Now you're going to stand in judgment on our souls? Lady, you are not right in the head, man. And notice, and you could hear the groans. Everybody was shocked. Now, this you can't see because it's radio. That's the one defect of radio. There's no visual, okay? It's just audio. But the Democrats were egging McIver on. They were like nodding their head up and down like, yeah. Like, yeah, you're gonna, yeah, your soul. Yeah, you're gonna lose your soul. Yeah, you're going to hell, buddy. Yeah. They thought there was nothing wrong with the question. And I'm telling you, this is going to be running the party. These are the kinds of people that are going to be running Congress and the committees. You think we can have that and function as a country? I'm just being honest with you. Ay. Okay. Now, it got even worse. From Dan Goldman, it just went on. Okay, he's another left-wing lunatic from New York City. To this guy called Sri Thanadar. He is an immigrant from India. He immigrated to the United States, my understanding legally, in the 1980s. He is another crazed radical Democrat from Michigan. He went after the Commissioner of Customs and Border Protection yesterday. Now, this is what I'm trying to warn everybody about. He's unhinged. Just like McIver, he's crazy. Yeah, he's got a serious screw loose. Forget calling ICE now Gestapo, which, by the way, they mean. They truly mean this. That they're thugs, that they're a fascist paramilitary group that's going around murdering Americans, spying on Americans, kidnapping Americans. And by the way, that everybody now needs a pardon who's working for the Trump administration. He's now sponsoring a bill that the Democrats say they come back to power, they will pass in a New York minute that will utterly abolish ICE as we know it. I want to play the McIver cut, if you don't mind, one more time. And this was just set the tone for so much of yesterday's hearing. And you can see now the Democrats have become fire eaters, as they were before the Civil War. In the 1840s and 1850s in South Carolina and other states. That was the term used for those that really reviled the federal government, who at the time were defending slavery. They were very radical, very almost unhinged in their defense of that peculiar institution, as it was called. And so they were called fire eaters. They were very radical, deranged, full of hate, bristling with aggression against fellow Americans, especially at the time Northerners, and the federal government. You're seeing history in some ways really replay itself again, repeat itself again. What you're watching now is the radicalization of the Democratic Party to the point now where you have to start to question people's sanity and whether this party can even, for the country, they cannot be allowed to win the midterm elections. I'm sorry. I mean, it's so obvious now. You give people like this power, we are in serious trouble. So here is Congresswoman LaMonica McIver. Now, remember, she's already wanted on 3 charges. Okay, she's already been charged 3 counts, 3 counts of interfering and assaulting ICE agents at a detention facility. She's still on these committees. Listen to her yesterday. She's grilling Todd Lyons, the acting director of ICE. Roll cut 11, Mike.
Let me ask you some questions that you may be able to answer. Mr. Lyons, do you consider yourself a religious man?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, yes. Okay, well, how do you think Judgment Day will work for you with so much blood on your hands?
I'm not going to entertain that question.
Oh, okay, of course not. Do you think you're going to hell, Mr. Lyons?
I'm not going to entertain.
Of course not. How many government...
The gentlelady will suspend. The gentlelady will suspend.
Chairman?
A gentlelady will suspend. As I said, the issues we're debating here are important to ones that members feel deeply about.
Thank you.
While vigorous disagreement is part of the legislative process, members are reminded that we must adhere to established standards of decorum and debate. The witnesses are here voluntarily. And I will continue to remind members that while oversight is important, aggressively attacking those witnesses personally is inappropriate and not in keeping with the traditions of our committee.
Mr. Chairman, I'm just asking a question.
Okay, frankly, it's not in keeping with not just the traditions of our committee, but in the traditions of Congress, the traditions of the United States. Forget the United States, the traditions of a civilized country. Now, remember, let me ask. Did you catch that? Let me ask. She can't even say ask. I mean, this is the level of the mind that we're dealing with. Okay, now, here's another one. So this is a guy who immigrated from India in the 1980s. Shri Thanadar, he's a congressman from Michigan, a far left, like McIver, very far left, basically communist Democrat, utterly unhinged. He has sponsored a bill to abolish ICE. I mean, get rid of it completely. The Democrats now, they're all signing on to this bill. So if they win power in November in the House, and my God, if they get it in the Senate as well, ICE could be gone. Trump will try to veto. We'll see what happens. But he now wants to abolish ICE. This is what the Democrats are now pushing. They also say that Kristi Noem will be impeached on the spot the moment they win in November and power is officially turned over to them. And then they're going to be gunning for Donald Trump. Listen now. This is Congressman Thanadar. Roll cut 5. Mike.
Look, I have heard and seen enough. I'm just sick and tired of your agents running around in our cities, in our streets, causing illegal activities. ICE and CBP thugs are roaming our streets, attacking our communities, using our children as bait, referring to people as bodies and numbers, targeting people for their accents and the color of their skin, and killing American citizens, all while showing zero remorse for their actions.
Okay, everything he said is an absolute lie. Okay, frankly, it's defamatory. Okay, it's slanderous. But hold on, because they're giving the game away. Listen to what he then says. This is to Rodney Scott. He's the Commissioner of Customs and Border Protection. That's who he's berating right now. Listen now to what he says to Commissioner Scott. And both to Lyons, Director Lyons, but primarily to Scott. Roll cut 5A, Mike.
Director Lyons and Commissioner Scott, do you think President Trump will pardon you and your boss, Kristi Noem, before he leaves office, just like he has for insurrectionists and his political allies? Do you believe President Trump will pardon you? Go ahead.
I'm not going to speak on behalf of President Trump, but I'll tell you, I signed up for this job to protect America, and I'm very proud of the service that I provide, and I don't need a pardon from anybody.
617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, I want to read this from 603. You can text the Kuhner Man, 70470, and I think 603 really hits the nail on the head. Jeff, I find it particularly absurd whenever I hear a member of the godless left telling a fellow Christian that they're going to hell. A place, by the way, that the left says doesn't exist, created by a God that they say doesn't exist. At the end of time, we'll see who makes it and who doesn't. On to the next line of absurd questioning by the left. Well, you know, you're dead on, 603. And look, this is the party of abortion on demand, let's be honest, killing babies. This is the party that hates religion, hates Christianity, hates faith, is doing everything in their power to destroy the family. And what? They're now all of a sudden they're the Spanish Inquisition? Now all of a sudden, because they're protecting their illegal aliens, which is essentially their power and their wealth, suddenly now they're going to stand in judgment over whether we go to hell or not? You can't make this up. The larger point is this, and then I want to go right to the phones. 617-266-6868. They're crazy. I'm telling you, they're crazy. Communists are crazy. And the more communist someone is, the crazier they are. And that's what you saw yesterday in that entire hearing. I got cuts after cuts. One is crazier than the other. And you look at this and you're like, they can't run the country. If we give them the keys to power in November, forget the fact that it's going to, paralyze Trump's presidency and he's going to be on the defense and they're going to investigate, defund, impeach. Forget all of that. They're telling us their plan. Their plan is they're going to abolish ICE. They want to completely reopen the border, unleash the floodgates. They want another 10, 15, 20 million to keep coming in. They don't want to clear the streets of criminals, illegal alien criminals. They want the murderers and the rapists and the pedophiles and the drug traffickers to stay. They're now openly saying, we're going to arrest all of you. You better get a pardon from Trump because I'm telling you, we're coming for you. So members of Trump's cabinet arrested. Todd Lyons, the guy's the acting director of ICE. What is wrong with these people? No, Lyons is going to go in the clink. Rodney Scott, the commissioner of the Customs and Border Protection, you're going to the clink. You're talking now about mass political arrests of your opponents for following the laws of the United States of America and conducting legitimate law enforcement operations. This is 1860. I'm sorry, but I'm just to call it just come on, hello. That's why everybody in that room yesterday were shocked. Because it started to dawn on people, even in the gallery. They're like, whoa, we thought it was just a rhetorical excess. We thought this was just a way to kind of, gin up the base a little bit with this Gestapo and Nazism and fascism, and people are disappearing and people are being shot and American citizens are being hounded. And I'm not kidding. They really believe that ICE is going around, papers, show me your papers. And it starts to dawn on everybody. They're like, no, these idiots actually believe it. Like holy mackerel. Like this is not just for political leverage or, manipulation or propaganda or, whatever, get on CNN and say something outrageous to get the Bills in Sudbury and the Chris's in Gloucester all worked up so they vote like crazy in November. They're like, no. These people, they really believe what they're saying. That, to me, is what is now true. These are insane, crazy, unhinged, radical Democrats. And you don't give people like that power. That's Michelle Wu. Michelle Wu running the country. Do you understand? That's what we're now facing. And I'm not sure most Americans quite understand this yet. Or to be more accurate, even forget Michelle Wu. I think Michelle Wu is a martyr. I'm not kidding. It's Mamdani. What you saw yesterday is the Mamdanification, if I can use that, make up that word. Okay? The Mamdanification of the Democratic Party. This is Zoran Mamdani's party, my friend. And they're taking no prisoners. 617-266-6868 is the number. So let me ask all of you 3 basic questions. Number one, what do you make now of the Democrats saying you support ICE and the deportations of violent criminal illegals? Your soul will be damned. You will be judged, and you will go to hell. Number two, what do you make of the fact now that the Democrats say the moment they win back power, they will abolish ICE? It is gone. We will no longer be able to deport a single illegal alien, and they will open up the floodgates again, have open borders, repeat Biden's policy, rinse, wash, repeat. And number three, Kristi Noem. They are now demanding that she be impeached, and they say that she will be impeached should they win the elections in November. Okay? In fact, let me add in a fourth one. Pardons. That President Trump now needs to pardon everybody because they're going to be arrested. Anybody who works in his cabinet, anybody who works in his administration, and I think pretty soon, anybody who supports him. You can see it now. You can see the rhetoric is escalating out of control. So my question to you, what do you make now that Democrats are calling for the mass political arrests of members of the Trump administration? 617-266-6868 266-6868. Lines are loaded. Larry in Arkansas. You're going to start us off, Larry. Thanks for holding, and as always, welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. Now, I haven't looked it up, but I'm pretty sure I'm thinking of the right guy. This is the Indian guy with a toupee that looks like he just grabbed some roadkill off the street.
Yes, that's the guy, Sri Thanadar.
Between him, Omar, and a few other they are the poster child for demanding that anyone who serves in Congress or on any court needs to be U.S. born. We do it for the president. That is a constitutional requirement. They have demonstrated that you need to be U.S. born to hold these offices, all the way to dog catcher, in my opinion.
Larry, I promise I'm going to let you finish, and if we bump up against the break, I'm going to hold you over, and I'm going to take all the calls. In fact, I'm going to encourage Sandy to make that the poll question. I'll see if she agrees or not. But anyway, it's up to her. It's her call. I agree with you. Okay. Now, then let me say full disclosure. Full disclosure. As you know, I'm born and raised in Canada. Okay. I'm a naturalized American citizen. I've been here for many, many years, decades and decades. But this would affect me, and it would affect me in a negative way. Under your law, the Larry law, which I support, right? I'm technically foreign born. So I would not be able to hold office for the House, for the Senate, president, obviously. But as you put it, all the way down to dog catcher. Look, forget it. I know there are some excellent foreign-born naturalized Americans. They are. But you're right. There's too many Ilhan Omars and this guy, Sri Thanadar. There's too many of them. And they don't understand our culture. They don't understand our Constitution. They don't understand our Bill of Rights. They don't understand what it is and what it means to be an American. 617-266-6868 if you want to be part of the show. Let's go right back to Larry in Arkansas. Larry, just to continue our conversation that we had before we went for break, and I agree with you. I think we should have a law passed. To me, it's not just for the president anymore. I think my opinion, and like yours, you want to be a member of Congress, of the House of Representatives, or you want to be a U.S. Senator, you should be born in the United States. I agree with you. But, Larry, let me just ask you this. I wish it was only the Ilhan Omars and this guy, Sri Thanadar, who were saying these outrageous things about arresting members of the Trump administration, abolishing ICE, reopening the floodgates and allowing 10, 20, 30, 40 million more illegals to keep pouring in. But it's not just them. It's AOC. It's Bernie Sanders. It's Hakeem Jeffries. It's Catherine Clark here in Massachusetts. It's Elizabeth Warren. It's Ed Markey. My point being, this is, it's McIver. It's Dan Goldman. I'm talking people who were on the committee yesterday. They're all born in the United States. So I agree with you, Larry. Don't get me wrong. But what I'm saying is, it seems that it's not just people who are foreign born and radical Democrats who are pushing this. It's even, natural, born Americans who are pushing this. So does that really solve the problem? What say you, Larry?
It solves one problem, Jeff. So, think about how you became a citizen and how you swore an oath to the Constitution and swore an oath to America.
Yes.
These people still come back, and I'll get to the main crux of it just to finish this thought out. You've got these people who say, my loyalty is to Somalia. My loyalty is to India. My loyalty is to this or that, right? They're telling you when they get into power, even before they get into power as they're running, because Mandami was the same way, that idiot. He made it clear his focus wasn't American values, right? So that's just one aspect. Now, John Thune, that weak milquetoast idiot, Trump should bring him in and play these hearings on repeat for that moron and saying, this is why we need the SAVE Act. Grow a spine and get it passed. That right there. I will give Trump credit and the Democrats credit for things. Trump, think about all the years up from, my recollection is Carter through today. Every time you get someone in office president-wise, we, on our side, their side, we think, okay, they're going to make a change, they're going to make a difference. And it's really much of the same. And we didn't see this radicalism. Trump, his success was showing us who the Democrats truly are. Like him or not, he's the one who's showing how radical they are. They're so crazy over what he's doing to the country because he's a flamethrower, right? He come in and he says, no, we're not doing the status quo anymore. We're going to actually change this for the better. And they're in a panic, and it's that extinction burst that you see happening right now. So he's showing us how radical they truly are. This was all they've had this attitude for decades. They managed to keep it under wraps and do things in the background. Now it's all out ugly for the world to see. Where I give the Democrats credit, I wish the Republicans on the Hill this much tenacity to change America back to the way it was, back to American values. I wish we had guys that would fight this hard.
Oh, I'm with you. I'm with you. I got to say, Larry, spot on. Really, one of your best calls ever. I mean, your calls are always good, don't get me wrong, but truly one of your best calls. Look, I got to say this about the Democrats. They used to hide in the shadows. They used to mask themselves, okay? The Clintons were notorious for this. They say one thing to you and do the opposite behind closed doors, okay? They were closet leftists, closet radical leftists. Now they're out in the open, everybody. So they're telling us now what they want and what they're going to do. And they are ferocious, rabid in the defense of their globalism, of open borders, of their pro-crime, anti-American agenda. There's no question now, okay? Our side, I mean, I felt bad for Todd Lyons. I felt bad for Rodney Scott, the head of the Customs and Border Protection. They took a beating yesterday. It was wave after wave after wave of attacks. One more radical and incendiary and frankly insane than the other. And they just kept coming and coming and coming. And our side, nothing. I mean, just I don't know what to tell you. It was pathetic. It was just pathetic. Larry, thank you so much for that call. Angelo in Rockland. Thanks for holding, Angelo, and welcome.
Jeff, good morning.
Angelo.
How are you today?
Good. I felt so bad for those two yesterday. Honestly, I was watching those hearings, and I said, if only I could be up there with them on the Hill, because they had no defense, no cover whatsoever. And, basically now the Democrats to their faces are telling them, hey, we're going to arrest you. The moment we get back power, we're going to arrest you. And they're trying to chill them, and they're trying to chill ICE. They're trying to put the fear of God into these ICE agents so that they don't actually do their jobs and arrest and detain illegal aliens. Honestly, Angelo, I've never seen a more despicable spectacle in my life. But anyway, I digress. Go ahead.
Those people who are badgering are true patriots, because that's what they are. They're upholding our laws that are in place, and they're actually doing their job under the oath they took. Now, that being said, Jeff, these people are true insurrectionists. Not only did they break the laws and using lawfare and going against the will of the American people who voted our wonderful president into place, they're actually doing an insurrection, going against our laws, and they don't care. So that being said, they shouldn't worry about ICE. They should worry about They're lucky I wasn't in charge because I'd arrest every one of them with the National Guard because they're going against our country. They're treasonous, and they're doing everything in their power to try to make us feel, along with all the money they're getting behind the scenes by the unknown people, like we don't know Soros and all these people that want to undermine America. If I was Trump or Trump administration, I would go after them with the full book, you're insurrectionist, and I would lay the law down. I would arrest them all, put them all in jail, stop the lawfare, and I'd go, we're at war. Don't think we're not. We're at war, and they're winning with their ways of their ideology is out of whack. They're all illegal aliens. Get it through your head. I know you're listening to me, people, but they're illegal aliens. They're murdering people. We're going to get the bad ones out. The other people, whatever it is, sign up or get out and do the right thing. I mean, Jeff, someone's got to put the saddle on and drive the horse straight here.
Oh, I'm with you. You're right, because look, you can see it now, okay? The Republicans now are clearly on the defensive. There's no question. And look, Angelo, to me, you got to the heart of the issue. This is war. Okay? It's a Cold War. I hope it stays a Cold War. But we're basically now in a cold civil war. This is a political, ideological, cultural war that we're in. And the Democrats, to their credit, know this. They're waging it. They're fighting it. And now they're telling us to our face. Now, if I'm Trump and if I'm the Republicans, what you saw yesterday, you play clip after clip, you loop it. You do the whole midterm election strategy on what happened yesterday. You tell the American people, do you want to abolish ICE? Because that's what the Democrats want. Is that what you want? Because if you want, then we don't have a country. Do you want to get rid of our borders? Do you want to have no borders? Do you want to allow people to just pour in by the tens of millions? And then if we try to deport them, suddenly we're the Gestapo. We're Hitler reincarnated. Because that's what the Democrats truly believe. So is this the kind of country you want? Do you want runaway crime, open borders, and essentially the end of our nation as we know it? Because that's what the Democrats are pushing. Do you want to see members of the Trump administration simply for doing their jobs and implementing the laws passed by Congress decades ago? Do you want to see them rounded up and jailed? Do you want to see the mass imprisonment of political opponents? Because that's what they do in third world banana republics. When communists take over, they arrest their opponents. Is that what you want? That's what that's it. Right here, right now. That's what we're running on. Because it's going to be nonstop arrests. It's going to be the dismantling, defunding, and eventually the elimination of ICE. And they're going to be impeaching everybody. Everybody's getting impeached, including the president, over and over and over again. So you're going to see nothing but political chaos and political warfare for 2 years, the last 2 years of Trump's presidency. So is that what you want? More instability, more division, more polarization, more havoc, more chaos? Because that's what the Democrats are going to give you. To me, that's what I run the election on. The American people are going to say, are you crazy? Absolutely not. So these aren't going to, this is not a loyal opposition. These aren't like sort of managers or center left or hell, even, whatever, social democratic left, okay, which is even more left. No. These are fire-breathing radical Marxists. And they're going now for Trump's throat. Angelo, thank you so much for that call. Frankly, for our throats. 617-266-6868. Look, and I got to say this, okay? All of you, do you remember the Biden years? I don't want to take you back there because it was so awful and miserable. But do you remember, okay? Again, I got to give the Democrats, you got to give the devil his due. We couldn't get them to impeach Mayorkas. Do you remember that? Forget Biden. That was beyond them. Okay. They couldn't touch Biden was like, oh my God. But remember we said, well, at least get Mayorkas. Why? Because he was one of the key architects of opening up that border, which was against the law. Remember, Biden broke the law on the border. He refused to enforce the laws of the country. He illegally allowed 20 plus million migrants to pour into our country. Everything Biden did on that score was illegal. Mayorkas said yes, and he kept doubling and tripling down. I had Jim Jordan on. Remember, I had all these Democrats come on. Will you at least impeach, if you're not going to impeach Biden, and you don't want to impeach Merrick Garland, and you don't want to impeach the Vice President Kamala Harris, because remember, she was the border czar. So technically that was under her portfolio. No, we don't touch any of them. I said, could you at least, for God's sake, impeach Mayorkas? I mean, how many crimes? What is this guy? If you remember, I asked Jordan, what does Mayorkas have to do before you guys impeach him? And he was laughing on the phone, giggling and laughing. They couldn't even impeach naked, open criminal behavior. They're not even in power yet. Hell, they're 10 months away from the election. They don't even know if they're going to get the power. And they're already saying Kristi Noem's getting impeached. They're already saying day one she's impeached. Day one, her head's on a platter. So our side can never impeach. Our side can never oppose. Our side can never defund. Look at them. They had one government shutdown in November. This Friday, they're going to shut down funding for DHS. It looks like there's no deal. So our side runs from every freaking battle. These Democrats, it's scorched earth. They come in and go, just burn the whole damn thing down. They fight. We don't. So please remember this. If the Democrats come back to power, say in 2028, and they have a Democrat president, and you're going to get some, and they all say this, oh, we got to win the House. Before we can do anything, we got to win the House. Okay, here's the House. Oh, no, we need the Senate. Okay, here's the Senate. Okay, well, no, but we really need the White House. Okay, here's the White House. Okay, but no. We need the Supreme Court. Okay, here's the Supreme Court. How much more can we give you, for God's sake? And they're still not fighting. The Democrats control nothing. Politically, nothing. The court is ours. Senate technically is under the Republicans. House, slim majority, but it's under Republican control. And we got El Trumpster, okay? Evil orange man, as the Dems call him, in the White House. And who's controlling the narrative? This is unbelievable. Who's driving the agenda? They are. Pathetic. Pathetic. Eddie in Maine. Thanks for holding, Eddie, and welcome.
Kuhner man. How are we doing today, Kuhner man?
Very good. How are you, Eddie?
Oh, very well. Hanging in there.
Hold on, Eddie. Eddie, according to McIver, Congresswoman McIver, I'm going to hell, Eddie. So, I'm going to be judged. And, Eddie, I'm going to hell. By the way, you're going to hell, too, according to her. Hell, the whole audience, all of you. I want to just let you know. According to the high priestess, McIver, suddenly now she knows our souls. She has a direct line with God. And, Eddie, I just want you to know, get ready. You're going to hell, my friend. That's funny, Mike. Mike says, I thought you already knew that. So, Eddie, when you're down there, could you save a spot for the Kuhner man whenever you get there?
Yes, 100%. I'll be standing right beside you. All right? If she has a chance to go to heaven, we have nothing to worry about. I want to tell you something. I was in Kennebunk, Maine, driving through town. I stopped in the center of town for a red light. There had to be 50 to 75 middle-aged, elderly white women holding signs, ice out, and down with the king. So I gave the little old lady the thumbs down, and she started beating her sign on the ground. And thank God the light changed. She might have rushed the car. And the point I'm trying to make is I don't see anybody outside supporting President Trump. Nobody. And like I said, just I was at every one of your rallies. If you ever had a rally, I'd be there again. And I don't, like I said, I see no support for it. Only thing I see the support is us Republicans, like I'm getting ready to go right now, going to work and paying our friggin' taxes. Nothing else. And I want to know, is there any way we can find a way that we can subvert our, we'll still pay our taxes, but divert it that it doesn't go to them till we find a better way to run this country. There's got to be somehow, some way.
Well, Eddie, that's where we're heading to. And it breaks my heart. You know, it's going to happen eventually. I think it's inevitable now. If the Democrats keep going this far left, you're going to see the middle of the country, which is the majority, the silent majority, because you're right, we're very silent. We're not out there with our pro-ICE signs or pro-Trump signs or, you know, pro-deportation signs or pro-American signs because we're too busy working, raising our families, paying our bills, and paying taxes. Okay, we're the backbone of this country. But eventually we're going to say, you know what? Look, if the federal government, now we still control it, thank the Lord, but if these Democrats start getting back to power, if the government is not going to protect us from illegal aliens, if they're not going to protect our borders, if they're not going to protect our country, if they're not going to uphold our nation and our sovereignty, then why should we pay taxes? I mean, I'm just telling you, look, and I'm saying this not to do it now. I'm not urging anybody to break the law because it's illegal. But what I'm saying is the country is going to conclude there's no point. And then what do? This is what I mean. The Democrats are playing a very dangerous game. They are playing with fire. And they played with fire once, and we got burned. We really got burned. Remember this. We lost more lives in the Civil War than every other American war, every war that the United States participated in combined. I remember when I used to tell my students this, they were shaking like, wow. I go, really? The Revolutionary War, the War of 1812, the Mexican-American War of 1848, Spanish-American War, First World War, Second World War, Korea, Vietnam, Afghanistan, Iraq, all the wars combined, we lost more in the Civil War. This is what the Democrats did to us once. Now, this is why everybody, and I'm not the only one now, it's commentator after commentator. You know, they're sounding like the secessionist Dixiecrat Democrats. It's the rhetoric is getting more extreme, more wild, more inflammatory, more incendiary, almost by the second, by the minute. Now, everybody is commenting, at least on the conservative side, but even many centrists, independents, they've never seen a congressional hearing like this, what they saw yesterday. This was by far the lowest, most disgraceful congressional hearing in probably the history of the United States. When you've got this guy from India vowing mass arrests, saying we're jailing you and we're jailing you and we're jailing you. He basically said Trump better pardon his entire cabinet and his entire administration because they're all going to jail. And you've got this crazy woman saying you're going to go to hell. God is going to judge you and send you to the pits of hell. I've never heard or seen anything like this. And I'm sorry, and she speaks in broken ghetto English. You know, she can't even say the word ask. It's ax. Let me ax some questions. Eddie, I don't know what to tell you, man. You know, so look, we pulled off a miracle in 2024. I believe we can pull off another miracle in 2026. We have to win the midterms. It's just that, I'm sorry. And I'm going to urge everybody, I don't care what you think, if you're disappointed in this aspect or that aspect, nobody can stay home in November. And for God's sake, pass the SAVE Act. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, 7 o'clock, 7:20 actually. As you know, every Wednesday, you know what that means. Truth or troll. Take it away, a Mike.
And now, America's favorite game show, where you get to decide on the Kuhner Report. This is Truth or Troll.
Today's entry for Truth or Troll comes from former Washington Post executive editor Marty Barron, who recently went on PBS to explain why he thinks the Washington Post is going down the tubes. They're being too soft on Trump?
11 days before the presidential election in 2024, they killed an editorial that was endorsing Kamala Harris. He said the paper wouldn't endorse ever again for president. And hundreds of thousands of subscribers canceled at that time, aggravating the financial problems that they had. Subsequent to that, he did all sorts of things that made things even worse. Appearing at the inauguration on the stage with Donald Trump, buying the Melania so-called documentary for an exorbitant price, Amazon buying the rights to The Apprentice, and Amazon had bought the rights to the Melania's documentary as well, and then completely changing the opinion pages so that essentially they have no columnists who are really left of center. And they're very deferential to Trump. And I think they lack a moral core. And so all of that has driven subscribers away.
It's an interesting way to look at it. All right, so what do we think here? Is he just trolling here, or is he being just deadly serious?
No, I think that's the sad part, Mike. He's being very deadly serious. This is the woke mind virus at work, Mike. No, look, you've got the Post, which has been hemorrhaging money. They're losing $100 million a year. And Jeff Bezos is saying, I'm tired of subsidizing it. Like, guys, you got to start making some money. And so they've laid off, what is it now, over 300, almost 400 journalists. Their sports section, which was garbage anyway, is gone. What is it? Their book section gone. That was garbage as well. So, no. Look, you go woke, you go broke. And that's the problem with the Washington Post. And frankly, with the entire so-called fake news media, establishment media. They were so predictably anti-Trump. And it was hoax after hoax. They pushed the Russia collusion hoax. They pushed the Hunter Biden laptop hoax. They were propping up Biden, claiming that he was fit, when obviously everybody could see he was senile. So after a while, nobody takes you seriously. And that's ultimately the problem with the Washington Post. It turned into a Democrat rag. And frankly, you want to get Democrat talking points. I'd rather go to the New York Times or Politico or watch MS Now. At least they're more entertaining than these blowhards over at the Washington Post. But no, this guy really thinks their problem is they weren't anti-Trump enough. I don't know how much more anti-Trump the Post could have been. Mike, honestly, the only thing they didn't do was call for Trump to be killed. I mean, they hinted at it. They were wink-winking it. Wink, wink, somebody should take him out. I mean, democracy dies in darkness. That was their big slogan. So, basically, he's Hitler. So they called him Hitler, fascist, dictator, authoritarian, blah, 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 blah. They're like, well, we weren't anti-Trump enough. Well, okay, I guess what? Call for him to be executed, to be assassinated. I don't know what else to tell you. So here's another moonbat who's out of a job. And let me just say this, Mike. These are the same lefties at the Washington Post, these limousine liberals, these elitists, who were gleeful when the economy was shut down under Biden and under Fauci in particular. And millions of Americans lost their jobs. Or they were the ones who said, the jab or your job. So when others lost their jobs because everything got closed or they didn't want to take the jab, the Washington Post was cheering it, laughing, saying, good, they all deserve to lose their jobs. Now that these losers lost theirs, they're acting like, I don't know what, it's like the equivalent to a war crime. And there they are with their little, cup in hand. They got a GoFundMe page going, I swear, saying, please, can you help give us money so we can, deal with this, with us being unemployed? By the way, they got a lucrative compensation package. They're not going hungry for a long time, believe me, Mike. So to answer your question, this loser, I hate to say it, sadly, he's not trolling, he's telling the truth. But that's me. I want to hear from you. You can vote on our webpage, wrko.com/Kuhner, wrko.com/Kuhner, KUHN is in National ER. The former executive editor of the Washington Post says that the reason why the Washington Post is going under financially is because they weren't anti-Trump enough. Is he A, trolling, or B, telling the truth? My opinion, sadly, this guy's actually telling the truth. He believes the dreck that he's saying. And, of course, you can always vote via X. My handle, all one word, at the Kuhner Report, KUHN is in National ER, at the Kuhner Report. Okay, Democrats go absolutely bonkers yesterday at a House hearing on ICE and Customs and Border Protection. They now say they got a bill, they're all going to back it, to abolish ICE completely once they get back to power. And they want Kristi Noem to be impeached. So, yeah, Mike was just pulling my leg, teasing me over the, as we were waiting to come back on the air, saying, I thought you were going to the pits of hell anyway. I don't need Congresswoman McIver to say you're all going to be judged and go to hell because you support ICE. So anyway, to all of you out there, since, according to her and most Democrats now, by the way, now they believe in God. Have you noticed that? Now all of a sudden they believe in heaven and hell. And when it comes to defending illegals, it's unbelievable what the Democrats now believe. But anyway, so according to them, it's like the Spanish Inquisition. If you don't oppose ICE, then you're going to get burned at the stake. That's it. Nothing else to say. Going straight to hell. So, as I said to Eddie in Maine, if you beat me to the punch, if you get there before I do, can somebody save me a nice place? Because the thing about hell, I don't like heat. I don't like heat. I can't stand heat. To me, I blast the AC in the summertime, even in the winter. I don't like the heat too high. So heat really bothers me. So if, the coolest spot that you find in hell, if you could save that for the Kuhner Man, I would really appreciate it. 617-266-6868. Sue in Swampscott. Thanks for holding, Sue, and welcome.
For taking my call. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you loud and clear. Go ahead, Great. Sue.
Okay, so I just wanted to relay something that happened. My nephew lives in Los Angeles. He's 17 years old. His father is of Sri Lankan descent. Grandparents are, they're deceased, but one worked for the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, and the other one was a cardiologist. They grew up in Bel Air. And what happened the other day, last Saturday, he was walking down the street. He's 17, classical pianist, athlete, good kid. Had two white friends on each side of him. They were just walking down the street in the evening, doing normal teenage things. And he was accosted by ICE and thrown on the ground. And they took his hoodie and strangled him with the strings, asked him for his phone, took it away, accused him of having a Mexican accent. It was just really awful. And this was relayed to me. And my 22-year-old daughter lives out there, and she's already woke and was at a protest the day before. And she heard of this, and she's like off the rails upset. I'm upset because I support the effort to remove illegals. And I feel like I'm the only conservative around here in Essex County. And I'm trying to hold it together. I have a 17-year-old daughter in school, too. And she's leaning that way as well. And I'm just like, okay, this is not, I'm all for getting rapists, murderers, child molesters off the street that are illegal. And they took my nephew off the street like that. And so I'm already being accused of not being like my daughter, my 22-year-old. If I don't publicly state my opinion or her opinion on things, she won't speak to me. She said anybody that supports Trump or the Trump administration are dead to me, and you can all go to hell. So I'm just really upset. I don't know how to, I feel like we've lost. And as far as these protests, these young women and old ladies that go to them, they're just searching for being relevancy. And they don't believe in God, and that's how they get their, I think you've already mentioned it, that's how they feel, that's their religion. And so anyway, I just needed to express it because I was just so upset about my nephew.
Well, look, Sue, first of all, I feel extremely bad what happened to your nephew. This is America, and this should never happen in this country, period, full stop. So those agents should be fired on the spot, okay? They should be reprimanded and fired on the spot. To defend ICE doesn't mean you defend every action of ICE. It's like saying I'm for law enforcement, but police, they arrest the wrong person. There are bad police officers. Police, some officers abuse their power. So it doesn't, the actions of a few doesn't taint the overall mission or, the overall law enforcement agency of ICE. It's not to excuse what they did, quite the contrary, but I could say this about anything. I mean, I can't tell you though. I could tell you the horror stories I've heard about doctors. And here, to my wonderful wife's father, they were operating on him and they made a huge mistake. And the poor man had to wear a bag. He couldn't go to the bathroom. He needed a bag for the rest of his life for years. Doesn't mean I'm against doctors or against medicine. So this idea that somehow because certain ICE officers or agents are misbehaving or abusing their power or targeting the wrong people, that means they should be fired. If anything, fine. It's an argument to reform ICE if you want, to improve ICE, to get even higher standards and better personnel. But you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. You wouldn't do that for police. I hope not. You wouldn't do that with medicine or doctors. I hope not. So that's, to me, the number one point. The second point, and this to me goes beyond politics, okay? And I'm sorry if I'm getting too personal. Please, I won't be offended, but I have to tell you my honest opinion. I think your daughter deserves a slap in the face. I'm sorry. You're a great mom from everything from your voice and the way you talk to me and, from everything I know about you. You've been a wonderful mother. You gave her life on this earth. She came from your belly. You raised her. You fed her. You clothed her. You changed her diapers. She wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. And she's not going to talk to you because of your position on mass deportations? I'm sorry. Who the hell does she think she is? And I don't care what the issue is. I don't care what it is. Any issue. You're her mother. You love your relatives, especially your parents, unconditionally. Well, you think I agreed with my father on many issues? My father was pro-abortion. Not pro-abortion, he was pro-choice. My father was pro-choice. He and I had, passionate disagreements about politics. So who cares? He's my father, for God's sake. I'm not going to stand there and say, well, Dad, because, my dad wasn't a churchgoer. I am. So I never said to him and said, hey, Dad, according to my religion, you're a baby killer. You're supporting the murder of an innocent baby, an unborn baby. You and I are never going to speak again. Excuse me? That's my father. So the love of a child for their parent should transcend politics. It should transcend ideology. I'm sorry, your daughter she's not 99.9%. She's 100, 1,000, 1,000,000% in the wrong. No political position or issue justifies a child not wanting to speak to their parent. It is inexcusable. It's unacceptable. Sue, final word to you. I'm just giving you my honest opinion.
School, between that, high school, and then TikTok and COVID, she graduated in 2021. And she came out being so woke and then moved to California right away. And she just rejected everything, how she was raised. And So that's just it's hard for me. I feel like it's like the Cultural Revolution in China when they got rid of the olds. And like now, like you said, the hearings yesterday, they are threatening, quote, our side. And so it's a scary time. And so sometimes I'm like, who are my allies around here? I don't even know where I would go if there was a quote, like a real weaponized.
Well, Sue, can you please hang on? Because please hang on. I know it's not easy for you to talk about this, but so many families, parents, Americans are going through what you're going through. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, let's go right back to Sue in Swampscott. Sue, this is, before we continue with the conversation that we were having just before the break, this actually was something that was texted to me by my own sister, Jennifer, who's listening. She's out in Tucson, Arizona. And it's a very good question. The question she had is, are you sure that those people that accosted your nephew, were they actually truly ICE agents? And the reason why she's asking is apparently you're starting to see more and more of Antifa and these anti-ICE agitators pretend to be ICE agents and then to do something outrageous or despicable in order to get even more opposition, to garner even more opposition to ICE. So I'm just curious, Sue, when you spoke to your nephew, how does he know they were actually ICE agents who accosted him?
And there's like this discipline number or something. You can go to their website and it says report. I can't remember what it said, but I called and this person answered the phone and she said, well, actually there are people impersonating ICE. So I did ask him that. I said, how did they appear? Did they have badges or and he said, yeah, they were, they claimed to be ICE, but he was in shock.
Yeah.
I mean, he was just.
Sue, I'll be brutally honest with you. If I was a betting man, I would say those are people impersonating ICE. And the reason why I'm saying that is because when they're conducting operations, they're usually going after people where they have an arrest warrant, an administrative warrant. These are targeted operations. Now, when people other than those that they're targeting get caught up, let's say they're called collaterals. Well, those are illegals, but they're with them. In other words, they're in the room or they're in let's say if they, go after somebody in a company or in a farm or working at a plant or whatever, if there are other illegals there, then they'll scoop them up as well. That's why, frankly, ICE has been making the argument saying, if you don't want nonviolent illegals to be arrested, just hand over the violent illegals we keep asking you to give us. Or, if they're in prisons or jails or courthouses or whatever, or give us information about their latest whereabouts that so we'll just go and get them in their apartment or wherever they live, instead of us having to chase them down in their workplace or on the streets or in the neighborhoods or whatever, at their girlfriend's house or whatever. So they're saying, to be honest, if you cooperated with us, there would be less nonviolent illegals being arrested and detained. So, but there's a lot of impersonations out there. I am suspicious. Let me just say this. I am suspicious that those were actual ICE agents. But let that go. As I said, let's say it was ICE agents. Then they should be fired and they should be reprimanded. Just like there are bad police officers, bad doctors, bad teachers. It doesn't mean you're against education or you're against medicine or you're against law enforcement, because that's anarchy. That's barbarism. Now, to me, let that go. Okay. That's a debate. You can agree or disagree. I'm just curious, when you talk to your daughter, when you say to her, okay, fine, we disagree on ICE, we disagree on Trump, we disagree on mass deportations, how does that justify you cutting off all ties with your mother? What did I do to you that deserves this? You now basically cutting me off and having nothing to do with me. What does she say to this, Sue? I'm just curious.
I don't know. She just takes it out on me. It's like there's this anger toward me, and there's something, an evil spirit in her, and it's going after me because she doesn't do it to her dad.
Now, does your dad hold views similar to yours?
We're like James Carville and Mary Matlin. Like, I'm the conservative. It's very unusual because usually it's the man that's conservative. The female is
more liberal. Yes,
more liberal. We're the opposite. But we've been married 30 years, and we're trying to hold on. And we've always lived in very liberal places. And so I'm at the end of my rope.
Well, just so that you know, Sue, look, you're in the majority. I mean, not where you live, but in the country, you're in the majority. On Kuhner country, you're part of the majority. So remember that the overwhelming majority of Americans are with you. So, those that are more on the fringe or marginal or in the minority on this are your husband and especially your daughter. So please take comfort in that. And ultimately, you're on the side of truth. And that's not a majority-minority issue. So never forget that. You have to stand for the truth. But above that, your daughter should respect you. You're her mother. You don't have to agree. That's fine. But for her to threaten not to speak to you or not to have anything to do with you, and I think your husband should step in. This is not a question of whether you agree or disagree. I think your husband now, as the father, needs to tell his daughter, you respect your mother. Period. Full stop. You're not going to not speak to her or mistreat her because you guys disagree on ice. It's insulting. It's demeaning. It's wrong. 617. Frankly, you deserve better than that. 617-266-6868. Just my opinion. Agree, disagree. Lou in Rhode Island. Thanks for holding, Lou, and welcome.
Yeah, how you doing, Jeff? Look,
hi, Lou.
I'll tell you who's going to hell. People who are going to hell are the people who take children away from the love of their parents. That's who's going to go to hell. Okay, let's be straight about that. And you can tell that Congresswoman that too. I'm not going to bury the lead of what I wanted to ask you today, or what I want to bring up today, because it goes way back. It goes back to your first caller, actually, Larry, and he was absolutely right. Look, let me tell you something. I bring this up every call just about. The RNC and the Republican Party needs to go on offense. I can't say that enough. They blew it in Virginia. They blew it in New Jersey. I don't know what's going on with them. I don't know why he sends Vance all the way to Armenia. Vance is should be like their General Grant and be taking them on right here, like when Lincoln hired Grant, he got Sherman. I mean, they should be taking them on right here. And when you look at the issues, all of the 80-20 issues are in our favor. Don't let them think that the Democrats in their bombast are so damn popular. They're not. We got crime. We got the fraud. We got the border. We got voting. We've got energy. We've got human trafficking, drugs, gender, DEI, and all these other kinds of things going on in our favor. We should be on major offense right now and go on offense against these stupid Congress people who are coming up with this communism. And by the way, you're talking about heaven and hell. Did you see what Mamdani, their king Mamdani, did? He basically ignored the investiture of the Archbishop of New York, the new Archbishop of New York. Something that mayors in New York have done. I guess things it goes back all the way to LaGuardia or something like that. But this is what they do. They don't care. They couldn't care about religion. I think they only care about having Sharia law and setting up Sharia cities. And you brought up something in your X today, and I thought it was really telling about what could happen to America, about the grooming gangs in England. They get power in this country. You're going to see not only communism, but you're going to see Sharia towns, Sharia cities. They're going to cave to all the Muslims because they get the votes. And it is all about voting. And it is all about the SAVE Act too. We have to go back to last week's thing. And they basically want to control the country. And one final thing I'd like to ask you to do, and this is a favor, is that they're always talking about Nazis, Gestapo, and all this kind of stuff, blaming ICE and Trump. Tell people exactly what the communists and the Nazis actually did to people. They didn't maybe accidentally arrest somebody in the street or anything like that. They went actively out, dragged them out of their homes, and killed them. And people don't see that the future could end up being like with Dr. Zhivago. Remember that movie, Dr. Zhivago, where the communists actually took people and put them into their homes. And that's what they probably would like to do with the illegals. Take your home or anybody else who has a house and say, well, you have too many rooms here. You can house some illegals. Talk about what the future would look like under these people.
Well, Lou, look, brilliant call. Brilliant call. Look, Maura Healey's already said this, that she wants people to give up a room in their house or an apartment, a room in their apartment, to have and house illegals. Mamdani has now openly said that he believes we have a wrong approach to housing and property. It should not be private. It should be public. It should be collective. So, in other words, you should the state should take over your home and your property and force illegals' families to live in your home. Well, it's no longer your home; it's the government's home. Now, look, this is how radical the Democrats have become. I want everybody, please, you got to listen to this, and that's what you saw yesterday at that congressional committee hearing. And I don't mean a Maxine Waters, one lunatic here, one lunatic there. It's all of them now. There's not a dime's worth of difference. It's all of them now, okay? So, Mamdani came out recently and said, listen to this, that the Prophet Muhammad, explicitly, it's what he said, the Prophet Muhammad and Islam should be guiding our immigration policy. When asked why is he such a staunch supporter of New York City as a sanctuary city, and New York State now, as you know, New York State is now a full sanctuary state. He said, well, it's the principles of Islam. And the principles of Islam, his words, and the Prophet Muhammad should now be guiding actually every law in the United States, but especially immigration law. And according to Mamdani, and this is what I mean by the Mamdanification of the Democratic Party, this is what we're now watching. This is a form now of Islamo-communism. Communism that is being imposed upon us, okay? Whether it's secular communism a la Bernie Sanders and AOC, or Islamo-communism under the likes of, say, Ilhan Omar and Mamdani. You end up at the same place. So, according to Mamdani, and this is the position, you have to abolish ICE. You have to get rid of all borders, especially, really, the American border. You can no longer deport anybody. So every violent illegal criminal must be allowed to stay here. Period, full stop. Well, what if they go and murder again? Well, then too bad. What if they rape again? Too bad. What if they continue to molest children or traffic drugs? It doesn't matter. Too bad. Because this is stolen land. We're an illegitimate country. And no one is illegal in America. Period. There's no such thing. Now, according to Mamdani, he said that the Prophet Muhammad said that there are no borders, that he believes in a global caliphate, which means a world Muslim empire. And so, according to Islam, I'm just telling you what Mamdani said, that you have to welcome the stranger, especially if it's a Muslim stranger. You have to open your home, your country, your community, your neighborhood, to every Muslim that seeks hospitality or that seeks refuge. And you must also allow them to build a mosque. And that this is the guiding principle of Islam. Basically what he's saying is Islam says the world belongs to it. And that Muslims, it's through stealth jihad, have the right to go to any country in the world. And whenever they set their foot on any inch of soil, it now becomes Muslim land. So he has openly now said this. This is the freaking mayor of New York. By the way, if you want to see communism in action, socialism in action, we are now, what is it now, 2 weeks since that big storm in January? Okay, whatever it is, 15 days, 17 days, 14 days, whatever it is. They still have not plowed the streets in New York City. I'm not, you have to look it up. Don't take my word for it. The garbage is piling up. We're no longer talking piles of garbage. We're talking now almost an ocean of garbage. You got to see the images. It is disgusting. There are rats and rodents everywhere. And they've left the homeless out to die. It's a massive scandal because this idiot, okay, this woke communist idiot said, well, because people were saying, look, it's Arctic temperatures or whatever, sub-freezing temperatures. It's so cold, you can't let the homeless live on the streets. You've got to shut down these homeless camps, these encampments, and get them inside into these homeless shelters. No. Not according to Zoran. No. According to Marxist Mamdani. He said, no, I'm not going to do that. That's a violation of their rights. So we're not closing down the homeless encampments. And by not closing down the homeless encampments, he left the homeless to freeze to death. They're nearly now, I think it's 18 or 19 dead. Don't quote me. It's minimum 18. I think 19 was the latest. They're going to hit 20. Okay? People are freezing. The homeless are freezing to death. The garbage is piling up. The freaking snowplows are not even cleaning the streets of the snow. And it's 2 weeks after a winter storm. LaGuardia, who, by the way, was an extremely independent, nonpartisan mayor. Okay, this was, 100 years ago. Fiorello LaGuardia famously said, because he was an independent to his core, he was not Democrat, he was not Republican. And LaGuardia famously said, there is no Democratic or Republican way to pick up the trash or clean the streets. Meaning, I'm here to clean the streets. I'm here to pick up the trash, fill the potholes. I'm here to be a good, effective mayor. And there's not a Republican way or a Democrat way. That's, just if you love your city, you'll get it done. No. There is a socialist way. And this is the socialist way. You don't clean the streets. And you don't pick up the garbage. And you let the homeless die like dogs on the streets. That's communism. That's Nazism. And just so that everybody knows, if ICE was anything approaching the Gestapo, as they claim, or the SS or the Nazis, let me tell you what they would have done to Sue's nephew. Okay, if those were really ICE agents, they would have taken him and they would have either put him in a cell and beaten him to death, tortured and beaten him to death, or, I'm not kidding, they just would have shot him in the head right there on the street. That's how the Nazis dealt with anybody they thought were their opponents or the opposition. So, all those protesters in Minneapolis, you line them up, boom, 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 boom. That's what ICE would be doing, okay? Or if they were the KGB in Soviet Russia, grab them, put them all, torture them, beat them, and kill them. Now, is ICE going around massacring people? Is ICE going around doing summary executions? I mean, this is how, first of all, I don't know if they're that ignorant and that stupid. By the way, every Democrat would be in jail. Every judge would be in jail and most likely dead. Okay, so I'm just telling you, we'd be living under one-party martial law. Every newspaper would be closed down. You think you could have CNN going on against Hitler? You think you could have MS Now ranting and raving against Hitler? Everything is closed down and they're all dead. They're either in Auschwitz or Buchenwald or whatever. So either they would be, I don't know, in Colorado or New Mexico, where they would be in a camp getting gassed to death. So when people say Nazi, Gestapo, fascist, you're an idiot. You're an ignoramus. In fact, I'm telling you, it's insulting. I lost half my family to the Nazis, the other half to the communists. You don't know what you're talking about. In America, we don't do fascism. We never have, and I hope to God we never will. So this is what I mean. When you have idiots like you saw yesterday at the committee, I'll play you Dan Goldman. These are Gestapo tactics that ICE is using. And he's Jewish, by the way. I would have slapped him right in the face. You're going to spit on the memory of 6 million dead Jews? By comparing one of the most professional, lawful, restrained law enforcement officers and agencies in the world? Have you seen what ICE agents are up against? They're being spit on. They're being pelted with rocks and bricks and frozen bottles. They're being rammed. Have you seen the latest? I'm sorry, forgive me, it's a family show, but it's all over Minneapolis. These protesters are now throwing dildos, sex toys, at ICE agents and their vehicles. Some of these idiots, and they really are mentally ill, are sticking dildos to their men, are sticking dildos to their foreheads. Why? Because they're saying that, sodomy, that's what they're doing to the people of Minneapolis. So the dildo represents the ICE agent sodomizing the people of Minneapolis. That's how sick these people are. I'm telling you, in Germany, have you seen how the police deal with people who interfere or impede law enforcement? They pull out the truncheons, the batons, they start beating them. In France, they just pull out the batons, they start cracking their heads open. In most European countries, they'd be unleashing the water cannons right now. Did you see what Canada did to those truckers up in Ottawa? They beat them. They beat them. They unleashed attack dogs and beat them. And ICE agents are incredibly restrained. There's no water cannons. They're not walking around with batons smashing their heads open. In fact, they're trying to minimize arrests. I'm telling you the truth. I have never seen a federal law enforcement agency exercise this much restraint. Well, what about Renee Good, Jeff? Well, she tried to ram and run over an agent. Boy, like, seriously, what's he supposed to do? I'm sorry, okay? Joining ICE is not a death wish. It's not a suicide pact. So what's he supposed to say? Run me over, you idiot. Okay, well, what about Alex Preddy? The guy brings a loaded gun with 2 magazines full of ammo. And he literally doesn't just impede law enforcement as they're trying to execute an arrest. He starts resisting arrest himself as he's reaching for his gun, who just a week before was caught attacking an ICE vehicle and smashing the taillight. So I don't know what else to tell you. I'm going to go to CJ in Boston in just a second, but I want to make an announcement to all of you, Kuhner Country. While I was off the air, just during the break, I managed to get a call in to my nephew, Andrew. He lives out in Tucson, Arizona. As you know, he's the wonderful son of my sister, my wonderful sister, Jennifer, and her husband, my brother-in-law, Marty, and I have another nephew, Matthew. Why am I mentioning all this? Andrew is 19 and a half years old. He has made a decision that he wants to be a federal law enforcement agent. And in particular, he is going to be a part of Customs and Border Protection. And so he passed all the tests. He went through all the hoops. He was actually sworn in just a few days ago. And now he is off this morning, their time. They're 2 hours behind. So his mother is going to drive him to the bus station in Tucson, in which he is on his way to New Mexico to do 6 months of training with Customs and Border Protection. And after 6 months, he will then officially be a Customs Border Patrol agent, and he will be patrolling the Tucson sector. And Andrew, I just spoke to him. I spoke to him for about 5 minutes, and I told him how proud I was of him, that he's now a man. This is a massive, important stage in his life, that he's leaving his home, his mother, his father. He's making his way in the world. He's now going to be a member of federal law enforcement. In fact, he's getting paid by the federal government. He's on his own career. He's going to make his own money. And he just wanted me to relate to all of you, he's a big fan of the show, but more than that, he's a patriot, that he loves America very much, and that he wants everybody to know that, yes, the pay is nice, the benefits are nice, but really he wants to protect our nation, protect our border, and keep America and Americans safe. And, he jokingly said to me, hey, Uncle Jeff, once in a while, maybe I'll call into the show and give you a report from the border. And I said, you better believe it, Andrew. You better believe it. You can now be our border correspondent. I go, how's that? So anyway, I just want to give a big shout out to my wonderful nephew, Andrew. I want to say on the air what I said to him in private, how immensely proud and how much I love you, Andrew. And I am so proud of you. And to my wonderful sister, Jennifer, congratulations on raising such a wonderful young man. He truly is just one of our prides and joys. He really is just a wonderful young man in every single way. So, Andrew, best of luck to you. Train hard, work hard. And as I said to you on the air, you need to call your Uncle Jeff for whatever reason. My phone is open to you. You need anything, you give me a call. But I want you to know that the whole family, we are beaming with pride today. 617-266-6868. So if you want to know why this issue, you're noticing Kuhner seems to be, really a little passionate about this. It's cutting him to the quick. This is why. Because now I have a dear nephew, a family member, who's now 6 months away from being officially a member of Customs and Border Protection. It's family. It's now family. And I'm telling you, my nephew is not Gestapo. He's not a Nazi. And don't you dare call him one. CJ in Boston. Thanks for holding, CJ, and welcome.
And to Andrew, we would just like to say, America would like to say thank you very much for your service, for being a proud American and standing up for the rule of law, Andrew. Take care, be strong, and protect America. Jeff, it's about time that we finally recognize that this is the Democratic Communist Party. That's what they need to be known as. As for that congressional hearing yesterday where that Congresswoman McDiver made that statement, is the blood spilled and whether or not he was going to hell. The Republicans never have a comeback. My comeback would have been, well, the Democrats stood by. They were cheering on as America burned, as Black Lives Matter and Antifa were burning down our cities. You stood by, you cheered them on. You stood by as President Biden let in millions and millions of illegals to murder, rape, and kill American citizens. So if there is a place worse than hell, that's where you Democrats and Joe Biden are going. That would have been my response, Jeff. That would have been my response. But, Jeff, I think, I'm a big Trump supporter. But I think what must be said here is he made a mistake in retreating from Minneapolis. Because he has basically confirmed what we have all said about having a two-tier justice system in this country. What he's basically...
Can you hang on, CJ? We're up against a hard break. Okay, let's go right back to CJ in Boston. He was on a roll. He said he would have had much more effective comebacks to the Democrats yesterday in that very explosive, frankly, at times utterly unhinged hearing whereby the acting director of ICE, Todd Lyons, and the Commissioner of Customs and Border Protection, Rodney Scott, were being absolutely eviscerated, pounded by one radical, rabid Democrat after another. Please, CJ, pick up where you left off. You said you think Trump made a mistake in Minneapolis by already pulling out, over 700 agents, calling for more cooperation, showing signs of wanting to be conciliatory, because now the left smells blood. Please pick up where you left off.
Well, that was a big victory for the Democrats, the Democratic Communist Party here. He should have arrested Tim Walz and Jacob Frey and any other governor or mayor within this country who either obstruct ICE or impede ICE from doing their job. The thing here now, Jeff, is the president took an oath to be president of the United States. I guess the question has to be raised as to whether or not his failure or unwillingness to utilize ICE to enforce federal law warrants impeachment. Does that warrant impeachment? Maybe the Democrats should try to impeach him on that. But, the president should have learned his lesson. During his first term, he was saying, put Hillary Clinton in a jumpsuit, put her in an orange jumpsuit, and he decided not to do anything about it. So what happened? What happened then? 2 impeachments followed, and then 2 assassination attempts on his life. This is because the Democratic Party senses the fear and with the conservatives here in the Republican Party. They never have a comeback. But what we don't have on our side, with the exception of you and a few others, Jeff, is the ability to go on national television and to tell the truth. There is no conservative television, from what I can see. And the same reason why they got to hate Trump so much was the mainstream media. It was constant. I think the figure was over 80% of the stories covered during his first administration were negative. So they got the public to hate Donald Trump. Now they got the public to hate ICE. And any agency that the Democrats don't want that are enforcing the law, whether it be ICE, whether it be the National Guard, whether it be the CIA or the FBI, they'll get rid of them. They'll just get rid of them. But I have faith in the American people that we're going to win the midterms and win them big. I would hope that the president would take 15 minutes per week to go on national television to give us an update as to what's going on. But Jeff, you said you don't like the heat, you like the cold, right? So please, just quick off topic. I got my National Grid gas bill yesterday. Hey, Jeff, catch this. They submitted January 16th of 26. They want $144 million for delivery service charges. So, I mean, I'm looking at my bill, and the delivery service charges exceed the actual usage of the product.
What a racket.
No, I'll tell you, we have a great state auditor here, Diana DeZoglio, who is a Democrat. I would have a suggestion for her here, Jeff, and that she change her party affiliation to independent. Go to the polls with this. It's 72% of the people voted to have this audit, and the Attorney General and the governor are fighting her on this. And I think she'll beat Maura Healey in the primary.
I agree. I think, or even if she runs as an independent in the general. I agree with you. I think on this issue and a few other issues, she could ride this all the way to the governor's office. I agree with you. So we're going to try to get Diana on. Forgive me. So we're going to try to get Diana DeZoglio on. She yesterday made news. She actually, and I don't want to get too off topic, but she's now filed an official lawsuit with the highest court here in Massachusetts, demanding that Democrats on Beacon Hill comply with that 2024 ballot initiative that was passed, as you mentioned, 72% of the voters. 72%. And she's come out and said, look, I'm being stonewalled, obstructed at every turn. They are defying the will of the people. They're acting like kings. You know, they're going on about a no kings protest, no kings about Trump. The only ones acting like kings are the Democrats in the state. And so she says we are now in a constitutional, democratic, legal crisis. They refuse to abide by the results of the election. And she now wants the state's judicial court, the highest court in Massachusetts, to weigh in and force both Ron Mariano, the House Speaker, and Senate President Karen Spilka to open up the books. and let's see what they've been spending their money on. So anyway, CJ, you're absolutely right. Look, when the delivery charges exceed the actual amount of whatever oil, natural gas you're consuming, you're getting ripped off. I mean, you're getting screwed. Somebody's making money somewhere. So anyway, that's why they don't want transparency. If there's transparency, you've got a massive scandal like in Minnesota. But anyway, let that go. Okay. Congresswoman McIver yesterday said that if you support ICE, you're going to go to hell. That God will judge you and you will be sent to the pits of hell. So I want to ask all of you, it's the Kuhner Country poll question of the day, sponsored by Mario's. Mario's Quality Roofing, Siding, and Windows. Who do you think is going to hell? A, ICE. B, the U.S. Congress. C, both. I'm a B on this all the way. If anyone's going to hell, if I was poor Todd Lyons who was getting berated by McIver, and he's like, you're going to hell, you're going to hell, I'd be like, lady, I'm looking at all of you here. And you know what I see? Fire and brimstone. That's what I see in your future. I'm feeling good. You, not so much. But anyway, I want to ask all of you, who do you think is going to hell? A, ICE, B, the U.S. Congress, C, both of them. You can vote on our webpage, wrko.com/Kuhner, wrko.com/Kuhner. You can also vote via X. And yes, I was very active on X last night, as I usually am. My handle there, all one word, at the Kuhner Report, at the Kuhner Report, Kuhn is in National ER. Linda in Medford. Thanks for holding, Linda, and welcome.
Well, I think we need to go back to a few of your programs. From where I'm sitting, I think all of this bull that's going on against ICE and making a big hubbub is to deflect from the fact that the Epstein files have been released, and it seems as though Trump has been cleared. But a lot of the Democrats have not been cleared. I see this as deflection, and if Trump had arrested people like Omar and Waltz and some of the high-hanging fruit, Schiff, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
Well, I got to be honest with you, Linda. I think that was, if I was to say Trump made a fatal mistake, if anything is fatal with Trump, is that I think he should have arrested Hillary right out of the gate. And I think that would have set the tone. That would have set the precedent. And then he should have followed up with those arrests. I agree with you. And I think now the Democrats are so emboldened, they think that they're above the law. And they can say and do anything. And now they're calling for open obstruction and open interference and impeding ICE. I mean, you want to talk about an insurrection? This is it. And now they're threatening that they're going to pass a bill, should they win in the November midterms, that will completely abolish ICE. And now they're talking about mass imprisonment for almost every single Trump administration official. I mean, by the day, they're getting more and more insane, more radical, more extreme. Okay, so the Democrats now are putting their cards on the table. They're going to abolish ICE. They want to make mass arrests of their political opponents, starting with practically the entire Trump administration. By the way, I hope Trump's people are listening. They're going to try to put Trump back in jail. I don't think they're going to stop. Should the Democrats win in 2028, I think they're going to continue where they left off when Biden was president. They're going to impeach Kristi Noem. We're going to be going into a period of immense instability and chaos should the Democrats take back either the House, the Senate, or both. To me, there's no question. There's now a deadline for funding the Department of Homeland Security this Friday. The Democrats say they're going to burn the whole thing down. They want to have another shutdown. It'll be a partial shutdown. It'll be over DHS unless the Republicans are willing to make fundamental concessions. And what is it in particular? What's the price that the Democrats are now willing to extract? This is what they want in exchange, for funding FEMA, for funding the entire Department of Homeland Security, dealing with terrorism, you name it, across the board. Listen now to Republican Senator John Barrasso saying, well, you really want to know what the Democrats are pushing for in this negotiation? Roll cut 13, Mike.
So I'm going to take a look at one of the specific demands that the Democrats have come up with, and it's a new demand. Haven't seen this one before, because they want to ban immigration enforcement from their so-called sensitive locations. The so-called sensitive location defined by the Democrats, which in the past have included places of worship, hospitals, schools. Now they want to include in that list polling places. Well, let's think about that. It's an entirely new provision. Polling places have never been included on any list like this before, and Democrats are now including them because they want to turn America into a sanctuary country and polling places into a sanctuary location. That's what the Democrats are demanding.
I mean, they're telling us, I don't know how much more they can say it. We want to steal elections. Okay? Can we, slap in the face? Hello? Can you finally get it through your thick heads? We want where you vote, the polling places, to be, quote, sanctuaries for illegals. So we're going to abolish ICE. We're going to erase the borders. We're going to destroy the borders. We're going to allow another 20, 30, 40, whatever, 50 million illegals to come in. We're not deporting anybody. We're going to arrest pretty much our political opposition, the whole Trump administration. If you don't get a pardon, you're all going to jail. And by the way, we're going to have illegals vote. So it's a sanctuary. So if they show up and vote, there's nothing you can do about it. Blank you. This is it. We're taking over the country. And goodbye, America. And this is now. We're only in February. Wait till they get till the summer or September or October. What are they going to be saying then? 617-266-6868. Vince in Long Island. Thanks for holding, Vince, and welcome.
Hey, Jeff, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, Vince. Pretty good.
Some democracy.
Go ahead, my friend.
That's some democracy you described there that they want.
It really is, isn't it, huh?
Democracy. The other thing I want to say, when you were talking about your nephew, I was worried that you were going to say that he suddenly changed his mind and that it's not worth it. That's what I was concerned about, but apparently it's good. He's going through with it.
Yeah, he's going to go through with it. I'm not just saying that because he's my nephew. Honestly, Vince, I call him kid affectionately. He's my nephew. He's 19. Obviously, he's a man, but he's a very good kid. He really is.
So what I wanted to say, your other caller, CJ, a lot of what he was saying was right. You notice how when Trump first got in January 2025, the left was a little freaked out and they were fearful, and now they're completely emboldened. Somehow the worms always reconstitute. It's incredible. And I was going to say the biggest mistake that Trump ever made in his entire career was hiring Jeff Sessions for Attorney General. That started the whole down roll of disaster. And that was a big mistake. And the other thing you mentioned about New York City being a disaster, I mean, on top of the snow, which is filthy and all that stuff, I was there a few days ago, there's dog poop everywhere. No one's cleaning it. So wait till the snow melts and all that poop is sitting around. That's going to be wonderful.
Incredible. Now, Vince, I read again this morning in the New York Post and in the New York Daily News that the garbage still hasn't been picked up. And the residents are losing their minds. It stinks. It's disgusting. I've never seen so much garbage. It's just everywhere. Vince, I got to ask you, are New Yorkers okay with this? I mean, yes, they're liberal. Yes, they're left wing, but do they literally now want to live in dog poop and garbage? Like literally live in filth? Is that their idea of a socialist utopia? Like, Vince, are they planning to pick up the garbage, or are they just going to keep letting it pile up? What are you hearing, Vince?
Who the hell knows? I don't associate with them that much because I'm in West Berlin. You know, I'm on the borderline. I peek in once in a while and then I escape. I got to give it to them. They do have great medical facilities like Columbia Presbyterian, NYU Center, and all that stuff. So I got no choice but to go in when I need the good top medical care. But other than that, I stay away from it. And the other thing I want to say, that incident with that woman that talked about ICE assaulting your nephew or whatever it was.
Yes.
That to me sounds like a false flag incident. We're dealing with revolutionaries here, and they don't stop at anything. And if that was such a big incident, why wasn't all over the 6 o'clock news?
I agree. I agree. Vince, look, think about it. If ICE agents went after a guy of Sri Lankan descent, but an American citizen, and then, beat him up and roughed him up and tossed him on the ground, and then we're saying, oh, your Mexican accent, and he doesn't have, obviously, a Mexican accent, this would be national news. This would be CNN, MS Now. It would be front page New York Times. That's why I'm with you. I said, were these even really ICE agents? Because I don't think so. Because there are more and more stories of them pretending to be ICE, like as you put it, impersonating ICE, and looking to create false flags, because now it's war. I mean, that's the meaning of the hearing yesterday. They declared war on ICE, on Trump, frankly, on all of us. That's what it's war. The Democrats now are on a war footing. We've got 1 minute because then Dr. Grace is going to be on. Vince, I've got to ask you this. This is not just now one fringe here, one fringe Democrat there. What you saw yesterday, what we all saw, that's the entire Democratic Party. Can America survive? I'm being very serious. This kind of a radical, far-left, anti-American, really Marxist party full of lunatics and ideological fanatics who now it's like a Spanish Inquisition, Vince. You're going to go to hell if you support ICE. Can we survive them taking back power in November? God forbid, should they take back control of Congress? Can the country survive this? What say you?
I don't think so. I think we're headed for a civil war, and doing what we did in the past doesn't work with these snakes. It really doesn't. And the other thing I want to say is, like, these people that annoy me completely, that swing their votes one way in one election, then another way the other election, are these people morally grounded? Are they just morons? Are they one-issue people that propaganda could get to them? I mean, they always talk about money in campaigns. I don't care how much money you spend on a communist. I still won't vote for the communist. So I don't understand how money can affect your outlook on your philosophy. Are you that numbskull that you can be swayed? Today I'll vote for Obama. Tomorrow I'll vote for Trump. It's insane to me. Once you establish your philosophy, that's it. Once you see a D, that's the enemy. That's it.
I'm with you. No, to me, a D really is a C, communist. It's the Democrat Communist Party of the United States. And Vince, I just wish the Democrats were really honest and said, we're changing our name to the American Communist Party, because that's truly now what they've become. Vince, as always, excellent stuff. Thank you so much for that call. I agree with you. I think we're going to win the midterms. I think the extremism that we saw yesterday, honestly, the derangement, the insanity, there's just no other way, the kookiness that we saw on display from Democrat after Democrat after Democrat. And it wasn't just what came out of their mouth. It's the craziness in their eyes. It's the rage. It's the utter ICE derangement syndrome. Not even Trump now. It's ICE derangement syndrome. If the Republicans are smart, they should be able to destroy the Democrats in November. Make it a referendum on the radical Democrats and their plans for the country. But that's my opinion. Okay, Dr. Grace putting liberals in their place. Grace Vuoto, full disclosure, she is my wonderful wife, definitely married up. Grace, I got to ask you, you saw that explosive hearing yesterday. It's making the rounds. Everybody's talking about it. People are absolutely shocked by what they saw. Let me take McIver first. She now said openly, if you support ICE as far as the Democrats are concerned, you are going to hell. You will be judged and you will go to the pits of hell. Are we now seeing a political fanaticism that resembles really religious fundamentalism, religious extremism of a kind that you see in the Middle East or that you saw in Europe during the Spanish Inquisition? What say you?
Well, Jeff, first of all, I'm starting to miss Black Lives Matter right now. These people are just trying to find a way to bash the Trump administration. And during his first term, it was Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter. Well, guess what? Many African Americans, they benefit greatly from law enforcement, especially law enforcement against illegals that are wreaking havoc in their communities. So this is just nuts. One thing I want to say is I was absolutely floored when I heard the word hell coming from them. You know, it's 26 years that I'm in this country, and I've been waiting for the use of the word hell in the churches. They don't use that word anymore because it's a politically incorrect word. And to my shock, we hear it from a liberal, and they usually say that we have to separate church and state. And there's no such thing as God, and there's no such thing as heaven and hell. And all of a sudden, hey, what about theocracy? Theocracy, you mentioned the word morality in politics, and they're like, oh my gosh, you're going to create a theocracy here. So I was floored that I heard the word hell. And really, the Trump administration and everybody involved should simply ignore them. The Democrats have no winning issue. The voters gave this president a mandate to close that border and deport illegals and clean up the country. And all they need to do is stick to that. This is not, people going to hell. This is actually, we are the Democrats here. We are enforcing the will of the people. This is what the people voted for, period, full stop.
Grace, Shri Thanadar has a bill. It's going to be voted. It's going to be supported by every single Democrat in the House and in the Senate, especially if they get back power in November, which calls for ICE to be abolished. They're also calling for Kristi Noem to be impeached. She's going to be impeached. There's no question about it. But they want ICE not reformed. They don't want ICE reined in. They're now saying ICE must be completely and utterly eliminated, open up the border, no mass deportations whatsoever. This is the issue now, the hill they're willing to die on. What say you?
Well, look, even some moderate Democrats are telling them that position is too extreme. This is just like defund the police. It really backfired on them. If I were advising them as a Democratic Party, I would say, listen, you should just be asking for, if you want to go down that road, the reform of ICE. But when you go to the extent of abolish ICE, that is another extreme position, just like the open border we saw during the Biden administration. And this is going to give the Republicans a winning issue. We don't want to go back to what we saw during the Biden administration. It was absolute chaos. And we know that there is just a thin line of defense between keeping this country safe and having the chaos that we had during the Biden administration, and that is border enforcement and what ICE is doing.
Grace, ICE is taking a beating. Public relations, they're losing the public relations war. In a poll after poll, many Americans now say they don't like the techniques, the tactics being used by ICE. They think they've been too ham-fisted about it, that they've been just too aggressive. And so my question to you, do you blame ICE in any way, shape, or form for the way they've gone about their raids, say in Minneapolis or in other cities? Or is deportation just a messy business? It's a messy, ugly business. It's not pleasant. It wasn't pleasant under Obama. It was messy under Obama. It's going to be messy when you have to deport that many illegals and you're going neighborhood to neighborhood, street to street. Yeah, it's going to be disruptive. It's not going to be nice. In other words, that's the nature of law enforcement. It's not pleasant, but somebody has to do it. What say you?
Well, Jeff, if we broadcast 24/7 all of the victims of illegal, what the criminals have done, illegal alien criminals have done to American citizens, if we broadcast that 24/7, public opinion would change. But what we're seeing is basically a big PR victory for the left. They've taken two incidences and they've just blown them up. And what the Trump administration has to do is no appeasement, no backtracking, but continue to play up and make the stories known of the victims. The whole narrative would be different. The only difference is, what are you focusing on? The media is focusing on these two, but we've got to fight fire with fire. Focus on all the victims of the crimes that these illegals have committed, and that ICE is standing in the way of more such crimes being perpetrated. If we do that, we can turn around this PR debacle.
This congressman, this radical Democrat, by the way, from India, he immigrated to the United States from India, is now saying, and many Democrats are, you hear what they're saying on MS Now, on CNN, what many of the liberal commentariat are saying. They are now saying that Trump administration officials will be arrested should the Democrats come back to power in 2028. They're openly saying you better get a pardon from President Trump, because if you don't get a pardon, we're going to lock all of you up. In fact, this is Bakari Sellers he's a CNN analyst on the Don Lemon show. And listen to what he says about Trump supporters and what needs to be done. Roll cut 21, Mike.
This is a little bit controversial with my friends as I sit politically, because I think hindsight is showing us that what we need after Donald Trump, what we needed after Donald Trump is not a bridge. Joe Biden was somewhat of a bridge. He was supposed to be a bridge or a palate cleanser or somebody who morally and ethically was antithetical to who Donald Trump was. Uncle Joe was the nice guy, older white guy, comes in and you want to eat ice cream with him, right? Well, I think what that episode in our country's history showed us is that we really need some fumigation, right? We need a exorcism, for lack of a better term. We need a more aggressive approach to go in and surgically remove the cancer that is the Donald Trump and MAGA movement. We don't need someone who's going to pacify this great notion of what, to DL's point, of what we have this country to be.
And you got members of Congress now openly saying, we come back to power, we're going to start arresting the entire administration. What say you? Now they're comparing us to a cancer that has to be purged and excised. Look, it seems to me the Democrats are taking us down the road to a civil war. Am I wrong?
Yesterday was really alarming and really disgusting, especially the comparisons to the Gestapo. I mean, that's completely uncalled for. But I would have to say, I think this is just rhetoric to try to continue to drum up public opinion like we saw. They did it during the Grammys. They had their moment at the Super Bowl with the halftime show. They think that this is the way they're going to get people out to the polls for a midterm victory. But the larger trend we're seeing in the Democratic Party, like in the victories in New Jersey and Virginia, what they're really going to focus on come election time is going to be the affordability issue. And those two female leaders. They stayed away from lawfare and warfare, and many Democratic analysts are advising them stick to that in order to beat the Republicans in the future. Look, warfare worked against the Biden administration the first time. So if they try to go down that road again, they're gonna lose if they do that. And there's enough of them in their party that are astute enough to know you can only take that rhetoric so far.
I hope you're right. I really hope you're right. It just seems to me that the rhetoric is getting more extreme, more intense, more violent, and it's getting more widespread. It used to be a few voices. Now it's a chorus. And I think after a while, you keep pushing this kind of violent rhetoric, it's going to lead to violence. So, but we'll see. I mean, we'll see. Dr. Grace, look, we're up against it. We got to go. I really appreciate it. As always, excellent analysis. Dr. Grace Vuoto, Dr. Grace putting liberals in their place. Okay, I want to play one more cut. And this ties into the larger theme of the radicalization and of the Democratic Party. And really now how unhinged and the violent rhetoric that is now completely sweeping that party. This is a Texas state representative, a radical Democrat, Jean Wu. Now, this was a resurfaced clip from December 2024. But listen now to what he says. He's I believe he's an Asian American, and he's now appealing to Asians, blacks, and brown people to form a violent alliance, and I underline the word violent, a violent alliance against their common, quote-unquote, white oppressor. Roll cut 20, Mike.
I think you've hit exactly the right point. It's not just Latinos. It's not just Asians. It's not just African Americans. It's everybody. Right? Yes. Our country and the forces that be, the powers that be, have spent tremendous time, effort, and money to make sure that those groups are never united, that they always see each other as enemies and as competitors without ever realizing that they share one thing in common, that their oppressors all are the same, right? The oppression comes from one place. And I always tell people the day the Latino, African American, Asian, and other communities realize that they share the same oppressor is the day we start winning, because we are the majority in this country now. We have the ability to take over this country and to do what is needed for everyone and to make things fair. But the problem is our communities are divided.
One oppressor, and we got to do what needs to be done. And we've all got to gang up together and take on this one. Obviously, you're talking about white people, white oppressor. Ay, ay, ay. Ay, ay, ay. I mean, ay, ay, ay. I mean, what do you guys want? South Africa? Like, I'm sorry, I've got to ask. What do you guys want? What used to be called Rhodesia, Zimbabwe? Like, what do you guys want? Uganda? Like, what do you guys want? And now notice, these are the same Democrats who said open up the borders, bring them in from all over the world, third world in particular, bring them in because we needed more diversity. Remember that? And how diversity is our strength. Well, apparently now it's diversity is the way to overthrow the man, to basically white people. They're balkanizing this country. They are pitting the races against each other. But ultimately, this is anti-white hatred. That's what you're seeing. And look, there's something in the Democrats' DNA. I don't know what it is, but they love violence. They love civil war. They love extreme inflammatory rhetoric. And there's something about Trump that has driven them literally, that's driven them off the cliff. It's driven them over the top. They have lost their minds. And I'm telling you, what I saw yesterday, if this continues, we cannot allow them to win in November. It's really that simple. Think Zoran Mamdani, but now he's running Congress. Ay, ay, ay. Janet in North Carolina. Thanks for holding, Janet, and welcome.
Hi, Jeff.
Hi.
Thank you so much for what you do. We just love you. There's nobody like you.
Thank you.
Gosh,
Thank you,
please,
Janet.
Please stay with us. Oh my gosh. This is called the Mamdani effect. It has been. It's not something I made up because I'm not that smart, but I certainly can recognize it because I've been looking at the Muslim takeover of our globe for at least 30 years. And this is the U.S. portion of the global caliphate that's now in effect. Mamdani is not interested in anything but the Muslim takeover. He's not interested in brown, black, whoever. No, it's not that. It's the Muslim caliphate, the global caliphate. There are huge numbers of Muslims at all levels of government. At this time, they have been elected and are currently, and we have many running currently. And now we need to vet our candidates. And don't be looking for an Arab name necessarily. Vet your candidate. They will start lying at this point. They will do anything to take over. Look what Mamdani has already said. Oh my gosh. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you very much, Janet. A very good call. No, look, I agree with everything you said. I would just slightly disagree with one small thing. You're right. They do lie, and they're allowed to lie to non-Muslims. But to be fair, I have to be fair about this. Ilhan Omar hasn't lied to us. Mamdani hasn't lied to us. They've told us to our face who they are, what they want to do, what they believe. Ilhan Omar couldn't be clearer. She's openly said, my loyalty is to Somalia, period. Zoran Mamdani has repeatedly said his loyalty is to Islam. Okay, part of the propaganda war that the liberals and the Democrats, to their credit, have won is the manipulation of children. And you remember there was an arrest of an illegal alien father. In fact, he was a criminal, wanted on multiple charges. He was a violent felon. And as they arrested him, he fled. And of course, they used all these images of his 5-year-old boy with his nice little Spider-Man backpack. And there he was with his little stuffy animal. And the media put that picture out there, front page, every newspaper in the country, on CNN, MS Now, every nightly news network, ABC, CBS, NBC, and they just kept showing that image over and over and over again. It's all emotion, cheap emotion, to pull at people's heartstrings. Look what they're doing. The children. And this poor 5-year-old little boy left freezing in the cold in Minneapolis. My God, these ICE agents, they're heartless. They're scum. They're child abusers. So, at the hearing yesterday, bang, bang, fang, fang, Eric Swalwell, the guy who slept with a Chinese spy, asks ICE Director Todd Lyons, the acting director, at the hearing, after what you did to that 5-year-old boy, will you resign from ICE? Listen now to Lyons' response. Roll cut 10, Mike.
A 6-year-old child battling stage 4 cancer has been deported, and it turns out he was a U.S. citizen. People are running through the fields where they work. People who've gone to the streets as allies have been shot and publicly executed. It's a decision to stay on at this point. And considering your honorable service in the past and the dishonorable acts that those who have worked for you have conducted, and the disgraceful statements that the leadership above you have said, you now have a decision. Will you stand with the kids who you're supposed to protect, or will you side with the killers bringing terror to our streets? Mr. Lyons, Will you resign from ICE?
No, sir, I won't.
Why not?
Because, sir, that child that you're showing right there, the men and women of ICE took care of him when his father abandoned him and ran from law enforcement.
Time has expired.
You never should have gone
Gentleman's
into custody.
time has expired.
What do you mean he never should have been arrested? Of course the father should have been arrested. My God, what are you talking about? He's a violent criminal felon and a gangbanger. So what is it now? We don't arrest gangbangers and murderers and drug traffickers because they have children? On what planet? And by the way, again, the media is not telling you this. That 5-year-old boy, his father abandoned him. Abandoned him. And then not only abandoned him, they were looking for the mother. And the mother wouldn't take the boy. So they were looking for a family member to take care of the boy. So they took the boy, they gave him hot chocolate, they gave him candy, they gave him donuts, they fed the boy, and then they eventually put him with some relatives. Yeah, you're dead on, Sandy. And then the other two, you're absolutely correct, Sandy. The so-called cancer victim, you know, the one that's 6 years old, and my God, he was a U.S. citizen, and you deported him. The two parents were illegals. And so they were being, by the way, both of them criminals. And so they said, well, we're going to give you a choice. Your child can stay here. I don't know if you have a U.S. citizen relative that can take care of him. Or you can take your child with you. And they said, no, we want to take the child with us. Okay. So what do you want them to do? Not what? Keep the child, forcibly separate the child who apparently has cancer from his two illegal alien parents? By the way, again, both of them violent criminals, gangbangers. So that's why the child went with the parents. They're like, my God, you're deporting 6-year-old cancer-ridden children who are American citizens. Yeah, the two parents were illegals, gangbangers. Now, as for these so-called executions in the fields, if I was Lyons, I love Lyons. He's a great law enforcement guy. He does his job extremely well. Don't take this the wrong way. But he's got to push back, man. You got to counterpunch. He's too polite, too restrained, too respectful. I would have turned around and said, name me one person we executed in the fields. I'm calling you out, you liar. You phony, you fraud, you. Go. Why don't you go bang another spy? You good-for-nothing traitor. Name me one illegal alien, hell, any person, legal or illegal, that ICE agents executed and opened fire on in the fields. Name me one, just one. That is a bald-faced lie. So, the 5-year-old boy, he's holding the picture because they love the image because he's he's a cute, adorable kid with his little blue stuffed animal, and he's got the Spider-Man backpack. So, of course, it pulls at everybody's heartstrings. The father abandoned him. The mother wouldn't take him. So what are they supposed to do? Let the kid freeze in the cold? So they put him in a nice vehicle with a nice blanket, hot chocolate. Hey, you want some chips? You want some crackers? You want some cookies? Sure, you like that? Okay, we'll take care of you. They fed him. The mother wouldn't take him. They finally put him in a house with his relatives. The 6-year-old boy, the two parents were illegals. So what? You want us to what? Separate the boy, the child, from his own parents? You guys, who'd be the first one screaming then? You. And the executions, that's only in your fevered imagination. You see, stop watching Schindler's List and thinking that's America. Okay? No, that was Nazi Germany in the 1930s and early 1940s. Stop watching Schindler's List and you know what? And start looking at reality here in the United States. Or better yet, just stop sleeping with Chinese spies. Maybe that's what's polluting your brain. And by the way, I have to say this. Look at how divided we are now. Look at what we saw yesterday as an example. We're at each other's throats. I mean, you can tell the country feels like a powder keg. And it's all misinformation, disinformation, lies, propaganda, half-truths, outright falsehoods. Someone is pulling the strings. This is being done by design. to subvert and sabotage and destroy us from within. And let me say it, okay? If no one else has the guts to say it, I will say it. Because what's the point of me being behind this microphone? Who does Swalwell ultimately answer to? The Communist Chinese. They own him. They got him over a barrel. We don't know what kind of intelligence he gave to that spy that he was sleeping with. Okay, bang, bang, fang, fang. Who's controlling the Democratic Party? It's the Communist Chinese. I know it's their globalist paymasters, but ultimately, who do the globalists answer to? It's all roads lead to Beijing. Joe Biden was a puppet of Communist China. Kamala Harris was a puppet of Communist China. Tim Walz is a puppet of Communist China. I could go on and on and on. So it seems to me that what the Chinese are doing, this is external interference in the internal affairs of our country with the goal of fomenting as much chaos and hatred. And if for the Chinese, they would love a civil war. They would love to see us just the union to snap and have us at each other's throats. I mean, this is a dream come true. You mean America disintegrates into violence and chaos? Oh, my God, we just sit back and watch. The world is ours. Because I'm looking at this and I'm like, you are deliberately lying and fomenting pure hatred. Eddie in Charlestown. Thanks for holding, Eddie, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. How are you today?
Very good. Very good, Eddie.
I just want to say a couple of things. This whole thing boils down to two things: money and mental illness. And what the president has to do, and the Republican leadership in Congress has to do, is pass a bill that if you want to seek public office, you have to pass a mental evaluation test, number one. That would probably weed out a lot of people. And
that's half of Congress right there, Eddie.
Yeah, well, time to clean house. Time to clean house. Number two, that congresswoman has the nerve to threaten President Trump, has the nerve to threaten President Trump and his administration with impeachment and jail, and she broke the law. The president has to do something and beat the Democrats to the punch and start arresting all these people before they're on the other hand. That's all I have to say.
Eddie, thank you very much for that call. I really appreciate it. It's time for us to go on offense. You know, they say the best defense is a good offense. It's time to go on offense. Tom, red, white, and blue dynamite baby in New Jersey. Thanks for holding, Tom, and welcome.
God, country, family, and the Kuhner Report. That is red, white, and blue dynamite, baby.
Thank you, Tom. Buddy, what do you make of all this?
Jeff Kuhner, you are the Paul Harvey of the modern day. When we listen to our favorite newscasts, and that includes Newsmax, you always have to put on the Kuhner Report the next day to get the rest of the story. The others get close. You hit the bullseye, Jeff, and I go all the way back to Rush Limbaugh and Bob Grant. You are the best, Jeff.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Tom.
And you're welcome, Jeff. You're most welcome. And the pathway to our sovereignty. And, Jeff, it's funny. Killing a baby in abortion, mutilating the temple of the Holy Spirit, which is our body with transgender, euthanasia, these things are not going to get us to hell, Jeff. What will is protecting our sovereign border like the Vatican does with their 40-foot wall, their $25,000 fine, and their imprisoned terms when you violate their border. But because the left is drunk on Trump derangement syndrome, we're not allowed to protect our borders. Jeff, this is good versus evil. The midterm elections are everything, baby. It's all in. And, Jeff, the way we win is cleaning up the elections. Election fraud will do us in. And these lefties are coming. They're not backing off. They're coming harder and stronger, Jeff. And we've got to win. We got to win the midterms.
Oh, you're dead on.
Or we got
after yesterday, what we saw, we have to win. We have no choice. And you're right. Pass the SAVE Act, implement voter ID, clean up the voter rolls, and massive turnout like we did in 2024. Make it too big to rig. And we're on our way, baby. Tom, again, thank you so much for that call. Kathy in Danvers, thanks for holding, Kathy, and welcome.
The best.
Thank you, Kathy.
Okay, so I wish on your poll question there was a D, and that would be Thune in our Senate to go to hell.
Well, I mean, U.S. Congress, that's both the House and the Senate. So if you go with B, you get Thune as well.
Now, 2015, didn't we, under Obama and Democrat leadership, come up with the Real ID Act?
Yes.
That all citizens had to get their birth certificate,
yes,
get their marriage license, their Social Security, their divorce papers,
yes,
and go down to our registries,
yes,
and prove that we were citizens?
Yes.
Okay, what is the problem in 10 years? We need to find out what the root of evil is. And John Thune, he needs to go to jail as a traitor. And I'm sorry, but we've already proven we're citizens. We don't need it.
Kathy.
Sorry.
No, listen, Kathy, look, I got to tell you, the way Thune is trying to screw us on the SAVE Act, it's disgusting. What I want to know is who's paying him. That's what I'd like to know. Who's paying him to screw us? Because I'm telling you, Kathy, we passed the SAVE Act. It'll be almost impossible. I'm not saying impossible, but it'll be very difficult for the Democrats to cheat and to steal another election. And if they can't cheat, they can't win. Kathy, thank you so much for that call. All right, Bill in Framingham. Bill, I hate to do this to you. I've got 1 minute left before the end of the show. Go.
Hey, Jeff, I was listening when you're talking about Bakari sellers and how they want to put us all in jail. Well, you know what? We're here for 2.5 more years. Let's start putting some of them in jail. Have the IRS agents go to Ilhan Omar's house, pull all her computers, and show us how you made $30 million in 1 year. And if there's one bad transaction, arrest her. Go to Tim Walz. Billions of dollars stolen. Arrest them. They're going to do it to us. Well, we have 2.5 years to do it to them. Let's make them sweat, make them pay before they do it to us. That's all I got, Jeff.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And Bill, think about it, what you just said. The difference between us and them, Ilhan Omar is a crook. Tim Walz is a crook. By the way, Ayanna Pressley now is in big trouble. $8 million, she can't account for it. In other words, they're thieves and crooks. They're committing real crimes.